Welcome to the Admins.com in our lab video series on Cisco SD-WAN. This is Metha, your instructor for this video series. For a complete list of SD-WAN videos, you can visit our website under the routing switching section. There you can also sign up for our newsletters to receive the latest video updates. In the last video, we went through three commonly used feature templates, which were System, VPN, and Interface. We used those templates to complete basic configuration on our devices, both controllers and WAN edge. So they've been switched from CLI mode to vManage mode at this point. In this video, we are going to continue looking at some other available templates that control the common device configuration. For our lab setup, we have three controllers, vManage, vBond, and vSmart, sitting in our simulated cloud at the IP of 110.11, 12, and 13 respectively. And that's just on the VLAN 110 with the subnet 1100/24. On that same subnet, we have a DNS server at the .10 IP address as well. From the WAN edge devices perspective, we have 4 WAN edge devices that are directly connected to our internet. And that is ISR4K HQR1 at the HQ site, the BR11 at site 101, BR2 at site 102, and BR3 at site 103. In the last video, we have applied the device template to all of these devices. At our headquarters site, we have a Windows 2012 domain controller and certificate authority server that we use as a jump box. For our RDP session, sitting on VLAN 32 with the IP of 32.40, and we use that device to pretty much access everything in the lab. We also have an out-of-band management VLAN, VLAN 99, and these are the 3 devices that currently have access to that right now: the firewall, and the 2 ISR4Ks. So far, our devices has the system feature template, the VPN 0, which connects to our internet transport, and the interface template apply. And now we are going to move on to other available templates. With templates, you probably hope to have them share by as many devices as possible, but if you take a closer look at feature templates, there are only a handful of templates that can be shared across all device types, and that's what we are going to look at right now. So let's see what templates can be shared. Let me bring up the web interface to the vManage. Go to the template section under configuration. Trying to add a new template, and given the device type that we have in the labs, which are the VH1000, VH Cloud, and the ISR4321, you can see that as far as the general configuration, we have the AAA template, the NTP system we already looked at, the banner, the logging, and SNMP, while the other templates are the routing related, which we're not looking at right now. We're just going to concentrate on platform general configuration. And we're going to go through this one by one. Starting with the AAA, we're going to have a separate video dedicated to this, so we're going to save that later. That could be like a whole topic on its own. We're going to skip BFD because it's all IPsec, data tunnel routing, stuff like that. And then we're going to look at the NTP, so why don't we start by selecting the NTP. Yowie wants to maintain time synchronization among all of the devices, especially use the certificate-based authentication, so timing synchronization is very important. And that's why we're going to add NTP to our devices. We'll call this template LM NTP all being that it can be shared by all of the device types. Add the NTP server, I believe. I might have a loopback created as part of the VRF INET, so it will be sitting on the internet. Let me bring up the console to that switch actually. So just FYI, that simulated internet right there is just the VRF sitting on that same switch 1 that we're using for pretty much everything. So if you do show VRF, you can see the INET, and I'm going to check out the loopback 11. I believe that's where I created. There we go. INET NTP 11255.255. So we're going to use that as our NTP server. 255, 255. We're not going to do NTP authentication, but if you do, you can select the key right here, the VPN ID that you want the device to use to contact NTP server. For us, we're just going to use the transport interface as part of VPN 0. Version 4 default. We're not going to set a particular source interface. It's just use whatever transport interface pointing to the NTP, and we'll make this prefer. Pretty straightforward. And then click Add. Don't forget that, otherwise it won't get saved. If you want to do authentication, then you would have come in here and create the authentication key and trusted key. But otherwise, that should be it. As simple as that, we just create an NTP server. Let's go back and add the template. Select VHCloud 104321, the next template. We're not doing OMP, we're not doing security. We already did system, so that would be banner. Okay, so LM banner, all. The login banner, I'm going to copy and paste. What I found is that you can't really do multiple line of config right here, and the only way that you can make that work somewhat is to use the new line characters. I'm going to copy paste, but show you that we put a new line right here. So \n, follow the next line, and then \n again to move to another line. That one is marked as, it's really hard to read, I know, login. So I precede the banner message with login, so we know that's coming from a login banner. And then for the MOTD, we do the same thing, but instead proceed with the MOTD. All right, so when we log into the device, we get a prompt, we know which banner they are. Again, using the new line. Click Save. That one is actually even simpler. Just the banner. Moving on to the next type of template. Go to the cloud, the 104321. We've got logging. So the logging template deals with local disk or remote logging. It's either one. Local disk, which is basically local storage. I'm going to call it LM logging. And instead of naming this one all, I'm just going to name it WH. So as you can see right here, logging level informational to local disk is enabled by default. And it will save 10 files at 10 meg each. Right, so rotation 10 files, file size is 10 meg. The logs are kept in the var/log directory. Enabling it is already on by default. We can leave a maximum file size of 10 and rotating every 10 files. Right, so the oldest file gets deleted. Priority is information, which is, or informational, which is everything. And this is just the severity of the events that will be logged. And you can, if you make it global, you can see the highest severity is emergency, which is value 0. And the lowest severity is informational, severity 6. It seems like we don't have what we might be used to in a Cisco router, which is debugging level 7. So I'm going to leave it the default, which is 6, informational. Next, we need to point to the server if you want to do remote logging. We are going to point that to our Windows 2012, which has an IP address of 32.40. For the VLAN ID, here's the thing though, because if your transport interface is pointing to the internet and it doesn't really have a direct path back to your enterprise syslog server, then obviously we cannot use the VPN 0 for that. Instead, what we're going to do is to use VPN 512, right? But this is only because we don't have the server-side interface up and running or the VPN up and running yet, so we cannot use the service VPN to be our source to contact the server. At this point, we can only settle with the management VPN 512, which would be fine for the router R1, R2 because they have the out-of-band management access. But for our remote site routers, right, they wouldn't be able to send anything right now. Source interface, let's make that device specific. So login server source interface. Because different device, if we want this template to be shared again across 4K and VH, right, the VH management interface has a different interface name. So we need to make that device specific. Priority, we're just going to leave it at default again at informational. Don't forget to click add and save. The next template is, let me select those real quick, SNMP. Right, we'll call that LM SNMP, again WH, as it will not be used by the controller. Shutdown would be no. Name of the device, that obviously has to be device specific. Contact, let's make global lab minutes IT. Location, let's make that device specific. We're just going to use version 2, but you have an option to do version 3 if you like. View, okay, this is the specific to OID branch that you want the device to be able to get pulled by the system. So you kind of have to have an idea of the OID that you want to make available. For us, give it a name OID, and the branch that we're going to do is 1, 3, and everything else. To add an object identifier, it's 1, 3, and star, which is everything else. Okay, so anything that starts with the 1, 3 as far as the OID, the information will be made available for polling. We're not excluding any OIDs, so we're good there. Add, and go ahead and click add. All right, so basically view is just like a filter for the access into OID. Community, add new community, just gonna name it Cisco. This would be read-only. And as you can see, read-write is not available, and associate the view to that. What this means is the SNMP server will be able to pull this device using community as Cisco, and will have access to this particular branch of OID. Click add. If you want to enable SNMP trap, then you do it down below. You can create a new group. We'll call it all, because this will get you to choose what module, right, you want to trap on. And these are the different options you have. If you want everything, then you select all. And then you have to select severity level, which you can select multiple of those. Critical, major, and minor. So we're going to do them all to capture the maximum visibility, right, of SNMP messages. If you want something less, then you will select less. For the target server, I think that you just have to save that. Yep, I just forgot again. I kind of navigate away, and it looks like it kind of remembers that. So don't forget to add. And then on the server, new trap target server. Same thing, what VPN you want to use for the device to send trap. Similarly to what we saw in the locking earlier, we're just going to use the VPN 512 management trap server. It's going to point to Windows 2012. UDP port standard 161. Group is all. Community is Cisco. All right, click add. And that's all that's available for the configuration. And click save. There's actually one more template that we can configure, but it's not applicable to ISR 4K, only the VH devices. So I can select VH1000 and VH Cloud, and that template is, let me see if I can find archive right here. So in the vEdge and the controller, you can perform periodic configuration archive, whether to the local or remote storage. The config archive is also done when the device configuration is committed. That means that you make changes to the configuration. But like I mentioned, it's not applicable to ISR4K or iOS XE at this time. Right, so we're going to call it lm archive all, obviously excluding iOS XE, all being the controller and the vEdge. You can set the interval of the archive, and by default, I believe that translates to 1 week. Specify the path where you want the file to be deposited, and we can create a new directory under the home admin called config archive. That can be skipped. It's only when you do the remote archive server, and that server is the secure copy or SCP server where you requires the SSH key file. And then the VPN that we want to use for the file transfer, and that's only applicable for the remote archive server. We can set use 512 for that. Go ahead and click Save. One last template that I want to add here before we get into the template into the device template is security. Security templates defines protocol used to secure the overlay tunnel. Since WAN Edge use IPsec for the data plane encryption, but the controllers do not have such things, the security templates are different and they cannot be shared. We saw the security template earlier. Although, let's see if that's available on... Yeah, I think it's available on ISR4K. I think we saw that too, right? But it's just not part of the basic function of the device. I guess we can do the controller first, which is this vSmart and vManage. And that's security. And you can see the only options available is the protocol. I believe it's between DTLS and TLS. There you go. We can leave it at the default. Give it a name lm security ctrl for controller. That would be for vSmart and vManage. Then we can create one more for vEdge Cloud 1000 and ISR4K. Yeah, okay, so I skipped that because it's not really part of the basic config. All right, now we can select security. Template name is lm security wEdge. All right, so by now you're probably catching on my naming convention. If it's the template that can be shared among all of the WAN Edge devices, I'll name it as WAN Edge. If it can be shared by everything, including controller and WAN Edge, then I'll say it all. But if it's only device type specific, then I'll call it either vEdge or ISR4K. As you can see, the security configuration for the WAN Edge device is more options there. So basic config, you can specify the rekey time, which by default is 24 hours. So this is how often the encryption keys are updated. The replay windows by default is 512. I believe that's in bytes. So there's no need to change that. Both values. Obviously, if you want better security and have the key change more often, then you can lower the rekey time. For the authentication type, you can leave at default. We add SHA-1 right there. And I don't see any a better security option here, so we'll just leave it at default. Go ahead and click Save. And now we can apply the templates to the devices by adding them to the device templates. To apply the feature templates to the device, we're going to go through our device template one by one, starting with our groups of controllers, and that is vManage. Click Edit. From top to bottom, we created locking, but that didn't have the vManage as part of that, right? Because we assumed that, again, our controller is sitting in the cloud and wouldn't have access to our enterprise syslock server. So we skipped that. We didn't do AAA. I think I might have forgot to add the controllers to be device type as part of some of the templates. So let me go back and fix that real quick, because now I'm looking at the banner is not there. Feature, we search for banner, and we're just going to change device model by adding vSmart vManage. I guess I should have had those selected originally. Okay, that's why I saw more templates than I anticipated, because let me go back real quick. If I do vSmart vManage, we edge 1000, and I saw 4K and the cloud. Yep, so we actually came down to just 5 templates right here. Okay, AAA, NTP, banner, locking, and SNMP. So these are the 5 templates that can be shared by both controllers and WAN edge. All right, so let me go back. I think I just fixed in banner, so maybe fix NTP next. Change device model. Add those. We didn't do logging and we didn't do SNMP. Go back to device templates. Edit. Banner. There you go. Banner all. Okay, yeah, the archive and NTP is up there. It's not there by default, so you need to add them manually. Looks like I'd skip archive as well, so my bad. Let me go back to feature since I didn't see it. Archive. Yep, that should be supported on both vSmart and vManage. Save. Let's try that again. Add the archive. Yep, there you go. Archive all. Add the NTP. Put the NTP back in. Now security right here. Yep, it's on the right hand side. So we pick our security template for the controller, and finally it's the banner. There you go. So we got everything as much as we can configure anyway. The other ones are the locking and the AAA and the SNMP. So those are the ones that we kind of left out and assume is not applicable to us. Well, AAA, we do that later. Although, yep, that wouldn't be so much anyway, because if you do like a AAA server, then it would be able to talk back to our corporate server. Click updates, and I'm sure, and it looks like there's no parameters that requires our input. Click next. Let's review the differences on the vManage. It's always a good idea to take a look and see what is new that's going in and what might get removed. All right, so the NTP server is right there, archives right there, and the banner is right here. Go ahead and push that out. That's for the vManage. That one has no problem. So move on to our next device, which is vSmart. Or actually, let me do vBond first. So vBond, edit, same deal, add the archive, pick the archive, add the NTP, pick the NTP, security. Oh, that's just BFD. Security is right here. Because the vBond is practically a vEdge cloud, it's got all the OMP and BFD, which we can just ignore because it's not really applicable to our dedicated vBond device. Same thing as Service VPN and some of the other options as well. So we're just going to do the banner, and that's it because we're not doing SNMP. Update. Next. Look at the config. Got NTP, archive, and banner. Configure the device. Complete it. The next controller and the last is the vSmart. Edit. Archive. NTP. And you can see now the majority of the time that we spend here is creating the template, but once it's created, adding it to a device template is actually pretty easy, right? And doesn't take a whole lot of time at all. And now you get a consistency in the configuration. All right, security and banner. Update. Look at the config. Yep, it looks like it doesn't like our banner very much, so it seems like there's an error in line 63. Yep, I think I'd spend time troubleshooting this too because I couldn't understand why the vSmart would be rejecting the banner there. And I even tried to remove all the \n, which is the new line characters and all that, play around with it. Even trying to enter this command manually into the CLI, and it seems to take it. So I'm not sure why it's complaining here, but it just means that we have to skip the banner section. Getting back in, repeating. I just want to show you that actually, that the error is there when you do the banner. If you don't run into that, yeah, feel free to let me know in the comment section below. But otherwise, it's archive, NTP, security, and we're not doing the banner again. Let's see if we're still producing error here. You can see there's no more errors without the banner or having banner removed, and we just get NTP and archive. Before we proceed further, let me log into the 3 controllers and do a quick validation. Starting with vManage, log in as admin, and you can see that as soon as I type the username, I get the login banner, which is being displayed correctly with the new line character. So we get a very nice banner here, and once I successfully log in with the password, then I get the MOTD banner. If we do a show run system, yep, we'll get, let's see what we added here. Yeah, NTP, right, and then the archive. So I can do a show NTP here, and hopefully that comes back with the sync. Yeah, I have to make that a little bigger. There you go. So it looks like it syncs properly. For the archive, I'm just gonna try and see if we can have see the directory that might get created as part of the archive command, which is home admin and config archive. You have to get into the V shell though to get into the underlying directory. And if you do a dir, yep, you can see a config archive file being created right there. Looks like it's okay, so I guess that might not be a directory after all. It looks more like a part of the file name. And let me see if I can look at the content of that. There you go. So it's just a text file that you can look at. All right, so this is prior to, let's see if it's archived before or after. Looks like after it made the change, it took a copy of the config, right? Because we got the NTP and the archive command in there, which is after we made the template change. Okay, so let me exit out of that. And then check the vBon, same thing, banner, another banner, and NTP here looks correct. And the last controller is vSmart. This one we didn't do banner, so we're not getting that. But we should still get NTP here. Let me also check the config archive right there. Next we're going to do ISR 4K. Go back to template, edit the ISR 4K. Logging, we have logging configured. You can add NTP. You can see archive is not an option here, right? So you can't do archive with iOS XE, I guess, right now. Add the NTP, set security template. We have the banner. We have SNMP. That should be everything. Click update and that's going to ask us to update or input some parameters for the two ISR4K that we have tied to that template, which is HQR1 and BR11. These are the three parameters we need to provide: the name of the device in SNMP, so that would be LMHQR1, location, lab minutes HQ, just like the location up here, and then the source interface to use for locking is Gigabit Ethernet 0, which is a management interface. And then for the BR11, LM-BR1, the source interface will be the same, and then the location for a device is Dallas, Texas. Click Update. Next, let's see if we can locate the new commands that will go in. That's the same. I'm trying to look for, I guess it's part of the security template. Remember the rekey, the 24 hours replay windows, authentication type. Okay, there you go. The banner for the login and MOTD, that's just a typical iOS banner command. I don't know if it likes the new line character very much though. And then where's the, I'm looking for the logging. So logging is right there, using the management interface VPN 512, sourcing from Gigabit 0, and then SNMP is right here, right, with the view OID and all that we configured together, and then the NTP server command. Okay, so the system knows that the iOS XE and the resulting command looks a little different from what we saw on the VEdge device, or the controller just now. It's going to affect two devices. Click OK. Hopefully we don't get any error here. Okay, updating device config right now. Verification of configuration. One came back success already, and the other one as well. So that's for the two ISR4Ks that we have. Then we're going to do our VEdge Cloud. Click Edit. Locking. Archive NTP. Yep, same thing all over. Security. Down to the banner and SNMP. Update. Edit template. That would just be LMBR2 locations, copy it from above, and source interface would be ETH0 for the VEdge management interface. Let's take a look at the config differences. That's for logging. So that's local log enabled by default, and then remote log is pointing to our server. NTP is there, archive is there. SNMP, contact, name, location, view, OUI, OID, community, trap, target, trap group, banner. Yep, and then configure the device. Yep, so you can see VEdge actually works a little faster when you apply the config. Then go back and complete our last type of device, which is VEdge 1000 on the BR3. Let me add all the templates first and then point it to the one we created. Yep, get to the point where I don't even have to think about this anymore. I just point and click, right? And we know it's going to work because it already worked with the VHCloud, right? This is just a router version. Same deal here. Copy paste, and that should also be. Actually, let me double check and make sure it's still ETH0 or if it's called something else for the management interface on BR3. So show run VPN 512. Actually on the, yep. So VHCloud management interface is ETH0, but on the VH1000 is actually MGMT0. Okay, so that has to match. Update next. Take a look. Should be pretty much the same thing as earlier. Yep, SNMP, banner. Oh, good to go. While that thing is configuring, it shouldn't take long anyway. It's already in the verification stage of the config. I'm going to bring up the TFTP 64 that can run as a syslog server. So that'll be a syslog right there. Yep. Point to the right interface. And just kind of sit there and wait. Let's see if anything will start sending. So the only device that will be able to send something right now is HQR1, I believe, because we're telling the device to use the management interface, and right now these guys on the right hand side do not have access to that. So let's see what happens. Just keep that up and running. And I'm next going to SSH into, let me bring that down, HQR1 right here. Okay, looks like the I have the wrong IP pointed there, so let me fix that real quick. HQR1, load it. It should be, yeah, I think I have it set to system IP. So 172.16.1.2. 1.2, let me save that and open. Is it any better? Oh, that's right. The inside I haven't configured it yet. Okay, never mind. That's a service site. All right, so that wouldn't work either. Yeah, it should be the outside interface. My bad. And that is 1112. There you go. Okay, so we're able to hit that. Locked in. Yep, you can see the banner doesn't quite display properly. It looks like the OSXE doesn't like the new line character there. So I still haven't quite figured out how to make a multiple line banner kind of fit inside that one little box that we enter the banner content there. Yep, that's just FYI. And I want to make sure this guy can ping to our Windows 2012 too. So ping vrf 32.40. Yep, that's pingable. So that should be fine. All right, let's check a few things here before we try that on another device. So maybe NTP, sure, NTP peer, or actually association in this case. For the iOS XE, yep, you can see it's synced just fine. Does that work? What about SNMP? I'm a little worried I'm not seeing syslog messages over here though. Well, let's keep going. And I'm going to use the program call. Let's see if I can find it. SNMPB right here. To pull out HQR1. I should have it set up already in terms of the devices. Looks like I'm pulling the management interface, which is fine too. 172.16.9.11. Okay, so I'm pulling that, and the read community is just Cisco. All right, let's go ahead and do a SNMP walk on that. Yep, and you can see I'm getting some outputs already. So just gonna let that run all the way through, and I guess I can pull it up while it's running. So you can see we got the contact information, Lab Minutes IT. All right, the system name HQR1, the location is Lab Minutes headquarter, and then followed by things like the interface name. I'm sure everything else is down below. Okay, I think that's like an uptimer right there. If you look at the OID branch of this, you can see that if you remember, we made the view 1.3 dot asterisk, right? And the branch of the 1.3 is right here. That's part of the ISO and then org. So anything under the ISO and then org will be accessible, and that's basically everything that we see right here. Okay, if you keep going, you see 136 and then 1361. Okay, so we make this a wildcard. Let me make sure the syslock, the locking config is correct on this guy. Yep, it's telling to use the gig Ethernet 0, pointing to 32.40. Yeah, I don't see any syslock messages yet. Let me start again. I wonder if the locking level is set correctly, and that's why we're not seeing it. Yeah, actually, it's already at console monitor buffer. They're all at debugging level. Alright, I'm going to try troubleshooting that later, because usually you should get the syslock messages already. Let me try the SSH into one more device, which is the BR3. Okay, looks like I don't have a session created, so let me create one, and that should be 103.2, I believe. There you go. So we get the banner as we expected, and then we do show NTP peer. Yep, you can see that one is synced correctly also. And then you can get into vshell also, again. Dir or ls. Yep, same thing. List out the config archive file. Let me try to troubleshoot this syslog real quick. Let me go back to the template and take a look. Logging, edit. The server's there. The priority is also there. Let me instead make it global and make it information, although it shouldn't matter though because it's set by default. Yep, that's going to affect a bunch of devices, which is fine. Hey, there you go. It's affecting 4 devices because they're all sharing that same locking template. I'm going to try and SSH again to the HQR1. I guess I can also access the management interface for that. Okay, it's all done. Bring up PuTTY. Load, instead we're going to do 192.168.99.11. Yep, that seems to be okay as well, coming in through management interface. Yeah, I think something's wrong with it could be my server too. You know what, let me see, let me do this. See if I can capture anything on Wireshark. If the Wireshark sees it but not our server, then we know it's a problem with the server. Right, so that would be on this interface right here, and we can just filter based on UDP port equal 514. Let me try PuTTY again. Yep, looks like it's locking something. Cannot process authentication because I accidentally mistyped the username, but you can see the device already saying the syslog message to our server here. It's just that for some reason it's not being captured by our TFTPD64. I wonder if there's a problem with the server there, but that's okay. This kind of proves that, yep, it's you can see I can keep failing authentication. Let's see if it sends another one. Oh, nope. Okay, so what about successful authentication? All right, so I am in there, and doesn't seem to process the successful auth there. But yep, for the one that failed, it said cannot process authentication. It looks like that the TACX is on by default. And since it didn't find that username that I mistyped, the local database is trying to contact the TACX server, and that's why we get that log messages. But anyway, that just proves that the syslog message is in fact sent to our server. All right, so we managed to complete 6 more templates, I believe. The remaining templates that we have not touched, except the AAA ones, are specific for particular functionality. So we are going to save them until we get to the relevant labs in the future. By now, you should realize that most likely you are going to have at least 1 device templates per device type, because when you create those templates, you have to select what type it needs to be. The controllers would also need to be configured separately, but that is usually a one-time thing anyway. If you have a cluster of controllers, then they can share the same device template. For the WAN edge devices though, since we only have 1 or 2 devices for each type, like we have a 1 VH Cloud here, 1 VH1000 here, and the rest are ISR 4K. You might not have a whole lot of appreciation right now, but when you have like hundreds and even thousands of these devices in your network, I'm sure that these templates will be your lifesavers. And that wraps up our video on SD-WAN device common templates. You can visit our website to view an extensive list of our lab videos and sign up to get access to additional lab contents. Thank you for watching labmiss.com, and I'll see you guys in the next video.